Start Again by Sevastian. The storm battered Triton City like the wrath of a forgotten god. The sky above the dome flashed with lightning, momentarily revealing the cracks spiderwebbing through the glass. The ocean was pushing in, a relentless ancient force ready to devour the city whole. Thunder rolled across the underwater skyline, shaking the neon signs that flickered in the narrow alleyways below. Every breath felt heavy, thick with the humidity of a city on the brink of drowning. Alaric sprinted down the alley, his feet pounding through the puddles forming around him. The cold rain bit at his skin, soaking his clothes, but he barely felt it. His mind was consumed by one thought: escape. Behind him, the high-pitched whine of the drones grew louder, their red searchlights cutting through the storm, sweeping the walls like the eyes of an ancient predator. "Alaric!" Rue's voice was barely audible over the roar of the storm. She was just ahead, struggling to keep her pace. Her dark hair clung to her face, her soaked clothes weighing her down. The ever-present headphones hung loosely around her neck, still playing the faint sound of artificial rain. The absurdity of it struck him, rain to soothe her in a world where the real thing was ready to kill them both. "We can't outrun them!" she shouted, gasping for breath as she stumbled through the waterlogged streets. "They're too close." Alaric didn't respond. He couldn't. His lungs burned, and every muscle in his body screamed for him to stop. But the drones were too close. The organization had found them again, as they always did. Every dead end, every hideout. None of it mattered. They always tracked him down. No matter how fast he ran or how well he hid, the red lights of the drones always found him in the end. They turned a corner into a narrower alley, the walls closing in on them, slick with rain and grime. Ahead of them stood a rusted metal gate, towering, spiked, and impassable. Water poured down from the rooftops above, filling the alley with the sound of 1,000 tiny rivers. Alaric skidded to a stop, his pulse hammering in his ears, his heart sinking into his stomach. This was it. A dead end. Rue crashed into him, panting, her chest heaving with each breath. She leaned against the wall, wiping rain from her face, her eyes wide with panic. "We're trapped," she breathed, panic rising in her voice. "Alaric, what do we do?" He didn't have an answer. His mind raced, flipping through every riddle, every escape plan, every trick he'd ever used to survive. His fingers clenched around the deck of cards he always carried. Old, worn, useless. The cards had been his shield, his distraction, his constant companion during every narrow escape. But now they were just paper, heavy in his hands, meaningless in the face of what was coming. The hum of the drones grew louder, the red light sweeping into the alley, casting everything in an eerie, hellish glow. Behind the drones, the slow, deliberate footfalls of the enforcers echoed through the storm. They moved like shadows, their black helmets gleaming in the rain, their weapons drawn and ready. They didn't need to rush. They knew their prey had nowhere left to run. Rue's breath hitched, her hand clutching at her headphones, as if the white noise coming through them somehow drown out the inevitable. "Alaric, we can't." "We fight," Alaric muttered, cutting her off. His voice was rough, hoarse from the cold and exhaustion. Rue stared at him, her face pale, water running down her cheeks like tears. "Fight? With what? Alaric, we're unarmed. They'll kill us." "We're dead either way," Alaric said flatly, his eyes locking onto the advancing enforcers. "I'm tired of running." The first enforcer stepped forward, his weapon raised. The red lights from the drones illuminated his helmet, casting a long shadow across the alley. His voice was distorted through the helmet's speakers, cold and inhuman. "Alaric Voss. By order of the organization, You will come with us." Alaric squared his shoulders, though his hands trembled. "I'm not going anywhere." The enforcer's weapon clicked as he cocked it, the sound cutting through the storm like the toll of a death bell. Then the dome cracked. The sound was immense, a deafening roar that drowned out everything else. The glass above shattered, and the ocean poured in. A wall of dark, violent water crashed down onto Triton City, sweeping through the streets like a vengeful tide. The force of the flood was instantaneous and overwhelming. Alaric didn't even have time to scream before the wave hit him, slamming him into the rusted gate. Water filled his lungs, his mouth, choking him, dragging him under. His world dissolved into cold, crushing blackness. He thrashed, kicking out against the weight of the ocean, but it was like trying to fight the inevitable. His limbs felt heavy, his mind clouding as the cold seeped into his bones. His vision blurred as he sank deeper, the storm and the city disappearing above him. He reached out, blindly, desperately, searching for something, anything, to hold on to, but there was nothing. No air, no surface, just the endless depths of the sea. And then, everything went still. Alaric's eyes snapped open. He was standing in the alley again, the card still clenched in his hand, his feet dry. The storm was gone. The water was gone. Everything was silent. Rue stood beside him, soaked but breathing hard. Her chest heaved with exertion, her eyes wide with confusion. "Alaric, what just happened?" He blinked, his mind reeling. I don't." He looked down at the cards in his hand. They buzzed softly, the edges glowing with a faint, unnatural light. His fingers shook as he flipped over the top card. The King of Spades stared back at him, its face cold and uncaring. Beneath it, in tiny, precise script, were the words, "Start again." His stomach dropped. He turned to Rue, his heart hammering in his chest. The whine of the drones returned, louder now, their red lights sweeping across the alley, just as they had moments ago. The enforcers stepped forward, their weapons raised, their helmets gleaming in the flickering neon light. "No," Rue whispered, her voice trembling. "No, this isn't possible. We were..." Alaric's throat tightened as the truth settled over him like a suffocating blanket. "We're in a loop." Rue's eyes went wide. A loop? "This isn't real," Alaric muttered, the pieces falling into place in his mind. "This whole thing, we're trapped in some kind of immersive simulation. It's a game." Rue shook her head, disbelief warring with the terror on her face. "What are you talking about? This is real." Alaric lifted the card, showing her the words beneath the King of Spades. "This is the reset point. Every time we die, we start over. That's why nothing changes. That's why they always find us." Rue stared at the card, her breath coming faster, panic rising. "Then, how do we stop it? How do we get out?" Alaric swallowed hard, his pulse pounding in his ears. "I don't know." The drones hovered closer, their red lights growing brighter, hotter. The enforcers moved in, their weapons aimed directly at Alaric's chest. The storm overhead surged again, louder than before, the cracks in the dome widening. The ocean pressed against the glass, straining to break through once more. And just like that, the chase began anew.